Alright, welcome everybody to the first episode of the Star Fox blogcast. I'm Andrew McLeod, and tonight I have with me Sabata. Say hello, Sabata.
Hello, Sabata.
And tonight, what we're going to be going over is we're going to be talking about the Shadows of Lilat. It's the new PC game that we have for being developed by some of the people over at Game Warden Forums. It's using the FreeSpace 2 engine. We have some screenshots for you here that are going through right now. It looks like a very interesting game. One of the things that we've noted is that they have a new trailer that's coming out next month, so be sure to check by those forums. We'll have the link to them at the end of the episode and as well in the information section. DeBrain posted that, so if you want to look up that topic, go ahead. One of the interesting things I think about this game, Sabata, is that it has sort of this Star Fox 64 element, sort of this interesting dynamic space element that we haven't seen, for a while. What do you think about that versus what we see now as far as more ground combat and things like that from Nintendo?
Well, personally, I think the Assault had a good balance between aerial and combat assault, but the problem with it is that it just seemed to fix too heavily on the ground-based thing, whereas before it focused mainly on the aerial part, and well, that's because that was the entire game basically, and it just seemed, it had a good balance. It was like it just seems like it tried to do too much with the ground-based assault, which kind of turned me off from the game. Mm-hmm. That and the fact that I just didn't like the way the new R-Wing handled it all.
Right, and I think a lot of people can agree with that, but can also agree that sometimes it's interesting to see this new ground combat, but as well it needs to be pulled off in a good way. And so far, I just don't think that Nintendo's done that yet, or any of the companies that are helping to develop it with them. So I think this game will hopefully be sort of a renaissance thing to try and get us back on track, and hopefully it'll work. We've seen a couple trailers, and we'll include more of the trailers at the end of the video and in the information section. But really, as we can see, we've got some great screenshots here. Beautiful, designs. The development team has just done a great job with some of these R-Wing designs, the backgrounds, the cityscapes that we can see. They're still doing some development on some of the planets, so the planets aren't exactly up to scope yet. But it looks beautiful, and I really can't wait to play it.
Yeah, it looks like they're going. A few of the screenshots, it looks like they're going back to the original 64 design, which really made me happy because they just tried to change. It's like you saw a subtle change from 64 to Adventures, and then when they did Assault, it's like they changed the design completely, and it just didn't look as streamlined or as sleek as it did in 64, which it looked more clunky and combat oriented rather than something that should be agile and more focused on maneuvering.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll have more updates on Shadows of Lilat as we go, and we'll include more screenshots and more things straight from the Game Warden forums. All right. Moving on, we're going to go to a fan art section now. This first one is called Fox McCloud the Fight. This comes to us from Zyman R, or X-Zyman R. What is one of the first things that you think about when you see this picture here, Sabata?
Well, you can tell right away that he's not looking forward to his day. I'd imagine being in combat all the time would be pretty stressful. I don't plan on going to the military, but I think anybody in the military would take one look at this and agree, hey, this is pretty much how I look every morning.
Yeah, it's something, just the way that the room's kind of thrown about, and his boots just kind of hanging there, and we don't know where the other one's at, and it's a very sort of a gray color, kind of a depressing, and he just looks like he's got a huge hangover, or just doesn't want to deal with the day, so it's interesting. This next picture comes to us actually from somebody that may be working on the blogcast as well, Basil Overby. And it is entitled Star Wolf Past and Present. What do you make of this, Sabata?
I have kind of mixed feelings about it, to be honest. Mm-hmm. It's like, frankly, I like what the artist tried to do with it, mm-hmm. but it's like I like the idea, but it's just the fact that if you look, it's like most of the characters have like two sets of ears, which kind of throws me off a bit, because you can tell it's especially obvious on Figma there, and
right.
it was a good idea. It just That's just the one thing that kind of bothered me.
Right, and attempting to do that human style for the characters is very difficult, and especially if you include some of the body parts there that aren't, that are duplicated, it makes it sort of an awkward thing. But it's an interesting sort of a uh, almost Japanime style of artistry.
Yeah, it's like they did a good job, like kind of summing up the characters' personalities just with their facial expressions alone. Which, I mean, I'm an author, not a artist, but
Yeah.
I can tell it's like that doesn't seem very easy to do, and it looks like the artist pulled that off pretty well.
hmm All right. Let's move on here to Toonie Villainy Trio. This is by Oshoshi. Sorry. Uh, this is an interesting Star Wolf picture. As the artist notes, we don't really ever see Panther Leon outside of the R-Wing, but we have seen Wolf in Brawl, and it's sort of an interesting, cartoony uh, looking picture of villainy, and Leon sort of looks creepy, and Wolf's just out to get you, and then Panther, well, he's just being a Casanova over there. So, what do you
Yeah.
think of
Um, yeah, that's just about all I have to say about it.
that? Yeah.
Because, yeah, Leon's definitely got the creepy assassin look going on, and I just like the way they did the dynamic thing with Wolf just kind of reaching out at the screen, and I thought that was pretty good
Yeah.
effect.
All right. Well, we'll cover some more fan art next. Actually, we won't have the blogcast for 2 weeks, but we'll cover some more then. But right now, we're going to move on to our spotlight of the week. This is on Metroid Other M, a new Nintendo game that should be coming out in 2010 or 11, sometime around there. Sabata, what do you make of this game?
Well, okay, I am a diehard Metroid fan. I should probably just put that out there right now. I've played every single one of these games. I don't know how many times, and it's like it was a good. I think moving from the 2D side-scrolling Metroids to the Metroid Prime series, that seems like a really hard thing to do. But and then they come out with Other M, where it looks like it kind of switches between first and third person perspective, which that I mean I have kind of mixed feelings about that one. That might throw some people off because I've played a couple games that did that too, and it was kind of confusing trying to adjust to all that.
Hmm
But it looks like from what I've seen in the trailer, it looks like anybody who's played Metroid Fusion, Samus mentioned a previous commanding officer named Adam Malkovich, which this game, Other M, looks like it would probably cover how she met up with him and what happened to him, and and it's gonna keep the same feel as other previous Metroid games, where it's not linear. It allows you to explore, but it's like you're still told where to go, and you can kind of proceed at your own pace, which that and the newer Castlevania games are just something I really like, just not being forced along. It's just kind of go at your own pace.
Right, and I.
And Nintendo's also revealed that I'm sure everyone knows that they're working along with Team Ninja, but there is also another company involved that they haven't disclosed yet, or at least when I looked it up. So it'll be interesting to see who that is.
Yeah. Um, well, it looks like that's all the time that we have for this week. We will be back in 2 weeks. Um, just keep watching YouTube, and that ends the first episode here for the Star Fox Blogcast. Thanks for tuning in.